Character Clash.
The Duel of Eternity. YUGI MUTOU versus Mumm-Ra. In the left corner, with his deck loaded with dragons, spells, and more hearts than a Mexican soap opera, we have YUGI MUTOU, Yu-Gi-Oh! The duelist who has sent more souls to the Shadow Realm than any divorce lawyer. On the right, wrapped in bandages, darkness, and more curses than the latest Windows update, Mumm-Ra, ThunderCats, the eternal priest who confuses immortality with not knowing when to retire. Who would win between the Heart of the Cards and evil incarnate with a lifetime membership in the Gym of the Undead? Let's unfold the analysis with more details than Seto Kaiba, creating a theme park just to humiliate teenagers.
Ready?
Round 1.
Physical skills.
Yugi isn't exactly known for his physique. He's rather skinny, with the strength of someone who's been lifting cards for years, not weights. But who needs muscle when you've got the athletic ability of a nerd who's been dodging bullying since elementary school? The most physical thing he's ever done is survive all the explosions at Kaiba's tournaments. So he's got some experience dodging debris. Let's not underestimate the little duelist, though. Years of running to get to tournaments on time have given him surprising stamina. And after all, lugging that heavy dual disc around on his arm has to count as training, right? And that's not to mention the calories he burns, running dramatically to draw cards at the last minute. Now that's cardio.
Trivia.
A particularly telling detail about Yugi's physical limitations comes when he is beaten by the hall monitor Ushio while defending his former bullies. This scene proves crucial, as it is precisely after this incident that Yugi completes the Millennium Puzzle, triggering the appearance of Dark Yugi. The transformation is not only mental, but also physical, with a change in his posture, facial expression, and even his eye style, which Takahashi specifically designed to communicate this duality of personalities. On the other hand, we have Mumm-Ra, a mummy older than an ancient tree, and with a body that looks like it's been through every plague in Egypt. But don't let his wrinkled old man appearance fool you when this old man utters his famous "Ancient spirits of evil transform this decaying body into Mumm-Ra, the immortal." He turns into a muscle-bound destruction machine faster than Yugi can say, "It's time to duel." It's like the gym and steroids have merged into one being. Take note, bodybuilders. Mumm-Ra is a force to be reckoned with. That is, as long as he doesn't look in the mirror and freak out at his own reflection, which happens with embarrassing frequency. Sure, as long as I don't have to run more than 30 feet because, let's be realistic, it's a mummy.
Trivia.
A notable anecdote is from the episode The Trials of Lion-O's Anointing, Part 5, The Trials of Lion-O. Here, Lion-O must defeat Mumm-Ra in his pyramid, and Mumm-Ra, in his ever-living form, displays immense physical strength, nearly defeating Lion-O, highlighting his physical power. What few fans know is that this transformation represents the reunion of the two parts of his Egyptian soul, the Ka, which remains in his mummified body, and the Ba, which ascends to the astral plane. Only when these two parts are united, through the power of the ancient spirits of evil, can Mumm-Ra reach his true physical potential.
Round 2.
Combat skills.
When it comes to combat skills, Yugi is like a Las Vegas magician on steroids. His arsenal of cards is more varied than a fusion restaurant menu. You want dragons? He's got 'em. Wizards? Of course. A furry Kurobo that looks like a ball of fur with eyes? Of course. And let's not forget his ability to stealth. He's so good at hiding cards up his sleeve that it would make a professional pickpocket blush. His secret weapon, Dual Monsters cards. With the ability to summon magical creatures and activate traps, Yugi turns any confrontation into a game of lethal strategy. His stealth is impressive. No one suspects that that kid with a face like he's never broken a plate in his life could unleash the power of Egyptian gods. Plus, his ability to pull out exactly the card he needs at exactly the right moment is so consistent that you wonder if he's cheating.
Trivia.
One of the most telling anecdotes about Yugi Atem's fighting style occurs in his first confrontation with Ushio. After being brutally beaten, Dark Yugi challenged Ushio to a game where simple rules hide profound consequences. By winning this game, Dark Yugi does not need to use physical strength to defeat his strongest opponent, but instead imposes a psychological punishment that perfectly illustrates his way of fighting. Mumm-Ra is the silent terror that lurks in the shadows. This guy can go from decrepit mummy to terrifying monster, faster than Yugi can say Exodia, manifest. His magical powers are as varied as they are impressive. From throwing lightning to creating illusions, firing energy bolts, flying, and transforming into pretty much anything. As for stealth, what's more stealthy than a guy who can literally turn into shadows? Although, let's be honest, his tendency to yell, "Ancient spirits of evil, transform this decaying body into Mumm-Ra, the immortal," before every fight isn't exactly the definition of stealth. He'd be no more subtle than an elephant in a china shop.
Trivia.
In the Legacy, Tigra fights Mumm-Ra for the Book of Omens. Mumm-Ra uses both hand-to-hand combat skills and magic, demonstrating his prowess, and Tigra barely escapes, showing how skilled Mumm-Ra is in battle. His INTJ personality, according to character analysis, makes him a born strategist who prefers cold calculation over brute force, meticulously planning each confrontation to maximize his chances of success.
Round 3.
Survival skills.
Yugi has shown surprising survival ability for someone whose main skill is playing cards. Yugi is like a Boy Scout with a deck of cards instead of a Swiss Army knife. He survived duels in the Shadow Realm, escaped ancient evil pharaohs, and managed to maintain that impossible hairstyle in extreme conditions. Lost in the desert? No problem. He'd probably summon a magic camel or something and find a way to make a Dual Monsters tournament out of the coconuts and end up being rescued by Kaiba Corp. Although, let's face it, without his deck, Yugi would be more lost than an octopus in a garage. His true strength lies in his ability to make friends in any situation.
Trivia.
In survival situations, Yugi shines with his problem-solving skills. For example, when he and his friends are trapped in a virtual world filled with puzzles and obstacles, Yugi leads the way, deciphering codes and patterns to escape before time runs out. His ability to think critically is key to surviving in challenging environments. This guy has survived millennia locked inside a pyramid. Need we say more? He's the literal definition of resilience. But let's dig a little deeper. This guy has survived thousands of years, multiple defeats at the hands of the ThunderCats, and even his own incompetence. His ability to regenerate in his sarcophagus is like having a real-life save point. He can survive in virtually any environment, be it outer space or the bottom of the ocean. Although, let's face it, living in a pyramid in the middle of a desert isn't exactly the height of luxury. One wonders if Mumm-Ra has ever considered moving into an air-conditioned condo. Although, his weakness to his own reflection is pretty pathetic. Who knew Thundera's most fearsome villain is afraid of mirrors?
Trivia.
Mumm-Ra always returns after being defeated, such as in Mumm-Ra Lives. This is due to his connection to the ancient spirits of evil, who give him immortality and the ability to regenerate, highlighting his resilience. A curious anecdote about his survival reveals that Mumm-Ra, as punishment for a defeat, was forced by the spirits of evil to build 4 colossal statues in his likeness, using only his withered hands, a task that took him 600 years to complete. It represents a particularly dark vision of eternal life, an existence without end, but without freedom.
Round 4.
Unprepared.
In an encounter without warning, Yugi could be in trouble. His usual strategy would probably be to spend the first few minutes frantically searching his pockets for his deck, while shouting, "I believe in the heart of cards," hoping that you'd somehow save him. But it might not be enough against an enemy that spits out energy beams. However, never underestimate the power of the protagonist and his ability to pull out exactly the right card at the right time. With a little luck and a lot of scripting in his favor, Yugi could summon Slifer the Sky Dragon before Mumm-Ra can say, "ThunderCats, who?" His only hope would be for Mumm-Ra to get distracted by his own reflection in the duel disk. Sadly, Atem can't summon monsters without cards, so Yugi would end up running away.
Trivia.
A fascinating example of an unprepared showdown occurs when Yugi must face Merrick in possession of the powerful Winged Dragon of Ra. In this crucial duel, Yugi had no way of anticipating the full capabilities of this divine card. However, thanks to a card that Kaiba had previously provided him, a significant gesture given their rivalry, Yugi manages to defeat Merrick and obtain the 3rd Egyptian god. Mumm-Ra, on the other hand, is always ready for action. This guy probably sleeps with his cape on, ready to transform and cast curses at any moment before Yugi could shuffle his deck. Without preparation, he'd just do what he always does: shout his motto, transform, and start throwing lightning bolts left and right. He's like a cartoon villain with an Egyptian god complex. His arsenal of magical powers and brute strength give him a significant advantage. Although, knowing Mumm-Ra, he'd probably find a way to sabotage his own victory, perhaps by tripping over his own cape or being distracted by a conveniently placed mirror.
Trivia.
In Exile on Third Earth, the ThunderCats are attacked by Mumm-Ra without knowing about him, which puts them at a great disadvantage, showing how dangerous it is to face him unprepared. A fascinating fact is that his powers are geographically conditioned. He can only fully transform inside his pyramid, under the watch of the 4 statues of the ancient spirits of evil. In a poetic sense, it perhaps reflects the fragile balance between freedom and power that characterizes many great villains.
Round 5.
With preparation.
With preparation, Yugi becomes more dangerous than an accountant with a souped-up calculator. He'd have time to put together the perfect deck. He could put together a deck specifically designed to counter Mumm-Ra's abilities and practice his dramatic poses. He'd spend hours studying Mumm-Ra's weaknesses. Imagine trap cards that mirror Mumm-Ra's magical attacks, or monsters specialized in combating the undead. He'd activate traps and yell, "You've activated my trap card!" at the most unexpected moment. With luck, he'd even have time to get some more hair gel.
Trivia.
The culmination of Yugi's strategic skills with preparation is seen in the final duel against Adam himself at the end of the manga. For this ultimate showdown, Yugi has had time to not only prepare his deck, but also develop strategies specifically designed to counter the man who had been his mentor and partner throughout his entire adventure. This duel represents the ultimate expression of his growth as a duelist and as a person, proving that with the proper preparation, even the seemingly invincible Pharaoh can be bested. Oddly enough, preparation might not benefit Mumm-Ra all that much. Yes, he'd have time to gather magical artifacts and plan evil strategies. But he'd also have more time to obsess and unnecessarily complicate his plans. He'd probably spend hours polishing his sarcophagus, practicing his transformations in front of the mirror, being careful not to scare himself, and going over his extensive catalog of ancient curses. Though, to be fair, he'd probably end up spending more time rehearsing his evil laugh than planning an actual strategy. Plus, with his luck, the ancient spirits of evil would surely be on vacation right then.
Trivia.
In Lion-O's anointment trials, Lion-O trains hard before facing Mumm-Ra, and his preparation allows him to defeat him. This shows how planning increases the chances of success. One of his most effective and lesser-known strategies is his extraordinary ability to disguise himself. He can transform into anything from a simple fly to historical figures such as King Arthur, using these false identities to infiltrate his enemies and manipulate them.
Round 6.
General data.
YUGI MUTOU. Physical skills, 5. Combat skills, 7. Survival skills, 7. Unprepared, 4. With preparation, 9. Total, 32. Mumm-Ra. Physical skills, 8. Combat skills, 9. Survival skills, 9. Unprepared, 8. With preparation, 8. Total, 42.
Final round.
Decisive showdown.
On one of his many nostalgia-fueled trips to Egypt, YUGI MUTOU found himself reflecting on his past adventures. He walked through the ruins of a newly discovered city, where every stone seemed to whisper secrets of a forgotten past. His heart pounded with excitement and a hint of nervousness, for Egypt had always been more than just a destination for him. It was the epicenter of his history, the place where his destiny intertwined with that of Pharaoh Atem. Suddenly, a chill ran down his spine. It wasn't just the desert breeze or the feeling of being in a place steeped in history. It was a presence, dark, familiar, yet terrifying at the same time. Instinctively, he reached for the Millennium Puzzle, which hung around his neck like a protective amulet. Before he could react, a figure emerged from the shadows, its silhouette distorted by the glow of the Egyptian moon. Mumm-Ra, the eternal sorcerer of Third Earth, materialized with a cruel smile. His presence felt like a void in the air, an abyss of dark magic. With his cavernous voice, laced with malice, he exclaimed, "Ah, young wielder of the Millennium Puzzle, I have waited for this moment. The essence of Pharaoh Atem is just what I need to increase my power." The Millennium Puzzle began to glow with an intense golden light. A mystical aura enveloped Yugi, and in a blinding flash, his personality changed. He was no longer the kind-hearted young man, but the king of duels, the spirit of Pharaoh Atem. His gaze was stern, his bearing worthy of an ancient monarch. Atem fixed his eyes on Mumm-Ra and replied in a firm voice, "I will not allow you to use my power for your dark purposes." Mumm-Ra raised his arms to the sky, calling upon the ancient spirits of evil. Stormy clouds covered the moon, and thunder crashed with fury. His body twisted in a terrifying transformation. His withered skin expanded, his muscles bulged, and his red cloak billowed like the wings of an ancient dragon. He was now Mumm-Ra, the one of eternal life, an entity that embodied the very essence of evil. Atem, without hesitation, drew a card from his deck and threw it onto the ground. "I summon the Dark Wizard." Immediately, a tall, enigmatic figure appeared at his side. His purple robes shimmered in the moonlight, and his scepter emanated arcane energy. The duel was decided: light versus darkness, Pharaoh versus sorcerer, past versus nightmare. Mumm-Ra wasted no time and extended his hand, firing a beam of dark energy straight at Atem. However, the Dark Wizard raised his staff and conjured a protective shield. The dark energy crashed against the barrier like a wave against the cliffs, crackling with destructive force. But Mumm-Ra was too powerful. The barrier began to crack, shattering like glass under the unbearable pressure. With a mocking laugh, Mumm-Ra snapped his fingers, and from the shadows emerged his faithful companion, Mumm-Mut. The creature snarled ferociously, its eyes glowing with an evil gleam. Atem reacted immediately and activated a trap card, Magic Cylinder. Mumm-Mut's attack was redirected toward Mumm-Ra with a lightning flash. However, the Dark Sorcerer simply absorbed the energy with the palm of his hand, as if feeding on destruction itself. "Is that all you've got, Pharaoh?" he sneered, advancing with the confidence of a villain in an RPG. "Is that all you've got, Pharaoh?" Atem gritted his teeth. He knew brute force wouldn't be enough. He needed a strategy. Determinedly, he played a fusion card, hoping to combine the power of his monsters into a greater entity. But before the process could be completed, Mumm-Ra moved his hand and unleashed a forbidden spell. The fusion energy dissipated in a whirlwind of chaos. Atem barely reacted before Mumm-Ra threw his enchanted bandages, which lengthened like snakes and trapped him instantly. Atem struggled, but the bandages were like cursed chains, draining his energy bit by bit. Mumm-Ra leaned over him, his face reflecting pure satisfaction. "Darkness always prevails," he whispered triumphantly. Atem felt his strength falter. It was a rare moment for him. For the first time in a long time, the heart of the cards didn't respond to his call. The wind blew strongly across the Egyptian desert, stirring up sand that blended with the shadows of the night. And so, in this intersection of universes, it was proven that sometimes, even the king of duels can find himself without a winning card in his hand. Atem felt the weight of despair. He didn't have time, but he had to try. "I'll play Destiny's Last Hope. This card allows me to unite my spirit with that of my strongest monster." The Dark Mage turned his gaze on Atem, and with a flash of mystical light, the two merged into a single entity, the Supreme Chaos Mage. Atom felt power course through his body. Now, he not only commanded the battle, but was also a part of it. But something was wrong. His body felt heavy. His energy, far from increasing, was rapidly dissipating. Mumm-Ra laughed with delight. Poor Pharaoh, you didn't even notice my hidden spell. Atom opened his eyes in horror. It can't be. That's right, your fusion hasn't increased your strength. It's drained it. Every second you spend in this form, the closer you come to destruction. Atom tried to move, but his body wouldn't respond. His energy drained like sand through his fingers. No, it can't end like this. Mumm-Ra raised his arm, and with a brutal movement, unleashed a wave of dark energy that struck Atem with indescribable force. The impact threw him to the ground with such violence that the sand exploded around him. Atem gasped. His cape was in tatters, his body barely able to move. He tried to sit up, but his arms trembled. Mumm-Ra moved forward slowly, relishing his victory. Don't take this as a defeat. Take it as the beginning of the end. Atem looked up just in time to see the sorcerer's hand descend upon the Millennium Puzzle. The ancient object glowed desperately, as if he knew what was about to happen. Atem tried to hold it tight, but his fingers barely responded. Mumm-Ra grabbed it and began to tear it from around his neck. For the first time in centuries, the spirit of the pharaoh feared his fate. But then, an invisible force stopped Mumm-Ra. The Millennium Puzzle, in a final act of resistance, unleashed a blast of golden energy that threw the sorcerer back several meters. Mumm-Ra roared in frustration. Damn artifact! Atom, airly conscious, felt the puzzle return to his chest, protecting him once more. However, the damage was done. His body was exhausted, drained of strength. The desert fell silent. Yugi, regaining control of his body, fell to his knees, exhausted. The Millennium Puzzle was still with him, but this time just by a hair's breadth. Darkness always prevails, Mumm-Ra declared, victorious. And so at this peculiar crossroads, it was proven that sometimes even the heart of the letters needs a break.
Do you agree with the result? And if not, tell me why. I hope I at least entertained you. If you like this video, please subscribe, like and share. I'll tell you a secret, give it a like and subscribe, it's free.